Spanish flu. A type of influenza, carried by H1N1 strain viruses, extremely virulent and the biggest pandemic in human history. 1918 flu pandemic, also known as the Spanish flu, was the deadliest in recent history, infecting approximately 30% of the world's population and killing up to 40 million individuals, particularly young healthy adults. The Spanish flu did not originate in Spain. The term Spanish flu was coined because Spain was not involved in the First World War and therefore freedom of the press was not subject to the limits of war censorship. The Spanish flu was deadliest for younger people aged 15 to 40 years old, who had little prior immune history with the flu viruses and had healthy immune systems. It did not affect older adults as much as younger adults. People who caught the Spanish flu but did not die from it often died from complications caused by bacteria, such as pneumonia. In the United States, it was first identified in military personnel in spring 1918. Patient 0 was in fact a military cook, Albert Gitchell, stationed at Camp Funston, Kansas. The name Spanish flu is a misnomer, so where did the pandemic actually begin? Laura Spinney, author of Pale Rider, discusses the competing hypotheses. Some evidence points to it originating in China. An intense flu-like disease did hit the northern Chinese province Shanxi in 1917. In 1993, Claude Hanaun, the leading expert on the 1918 flu for the Pasteur Institute, asserted the former virus was likely to have come from China. It then mutated in the United States near Boston and from there spread to Brest, France, Europe's battlefields, Europe, and the world, with Allied soldiers and sailors as the main disseminators. In 2014, historian Mark Humphreys argued that the mobilization of 96,000 Chinese laborers to work behind the British and French lines might have been the source of the pandemic. Humphreys, of the Memorial University of Newfoundland and St. John's, based his conclusions on newly unearthed records. He found archival evidence that a respiratory illness that struck northern China in November 1917 was identified a year later by Chinese health officials as identical to the Spanish flu. It's a sobering thought, that even in the aftermath of 4 years of the most destructive war to date at that time, when tens of millions died in battle, that a mere virus could kill many more in half the time. In fact, more U.S. soldiers died from the 1918 flu than were killed in battle during the war. 40% of the U.S. Navy was hit with the flu, while 36% of the Army became ill, and troops moving around the world in crowded ships and trains helped to spread the killer virus. The flu that has made more deaths than war. First World War between 1914-18 killed only 16 million people, while the Spanish flu infected and killed around 40 to 50 million people. The results were horrific, but obviously human life went on. Thanks for watching. Please do subscribe in our